When the world won't listen and you start to panic. Have you ever been here? Someone doesn't reply to your message. Plans get cancelled last minute. A single sentence from someone tightens your chest. They seem like small things, but your mind doesn't think so. It starts running, interpreting, predicting, panicking. Are they ignoring me? Did I say something wrong? What do I need to do to fix this? And in that moment, you're no longer yourself. You become someone tense, reactive, grasping, as if by controlling well enough, everything will go back to how it should be. But the truth is the opposite. The world never fit in the palm of your hand. Others never followed the scripts you wrote, and reality has no duty to make you feel safe. But we've grown used to the illusion of control. Since childhood, we learn to be agreeable, to be loved. We learn to read the room, to avoid punishment. We believed, if I'm good, if I'm careful, the world will respond the way I want. So when something small veers off that path, we collapse. Not because it's too big, but because it reminds us we never truly had control at all. The panic doesn't start from the event. It starts from the realization, I'm not as in control as I thought. And instead of sitting with that truth, we react. We send message after message. We act cold to protect ourselves. We tense up like machines, just to regain a sense of control, just to silence the storm inside. But the more we react, the further we drift from ourselves. Are you in a quiet panic right now? One you don't even know how to name? If you are, pause for a moment. Don't fix, don't fight, just recognize. You don't need to control everything to be okay. You just need to sit and breathe and remember, you're still here. Behind every reaction is a child afraid of being left. Have you ever wondered, why does a casual comment leave you sleepless at night? Why does someone's silence hurt more than a clear goodbye? Why can you be composed in meetings, lead teams, make decisions, but completely unravel when someone you care about doesn't text back? It's not because you're weak, and it's not because you love too much. It's because a child inside you is waking up. Most intense emotional reactions don't belong to the present. They're echoes of wounds that never got named. You think you're angry at your partner, but beneath that, you're angry at someone who abandoned you years ago. You're unsettled by a late reply, but really, you're reliving the silence you faced as a child when your mother got upset and said nothing. You crave recognition, because deep down, you still ache for a nod from a father who never quite saw you. When a child feels helpless and doesn't understand what's happening, they learn this. If I can predict it, I can be safe. If I see it coming, maybe it won't hurt as much. So they become experts in reading emotions, in pleasing, in doing the right thing just to avoid being left. Sound familiar? As adults, we carry these survival patterns into every relationship. We're no longer children, but our nervous system doesn't know that. You might say, but my childhood was fine. Nothing dramatic happened. Then look closer. Do you constantly apologize for normal emotions? Do you feel anxious when someone doesn't respond the way you hoped? Do you pride yourself on being mature while secretly struggling inside? Maybe you're not fragile. Maybe you were just never allowed to be vulnerable. Society taught you, be rational, don't overreact, grow up. But no one taught you this. True maturity is not hiding your emotions, it's understanding where they come from. When anger arises, ask, who abandoned me when I needed them most? When you feel cold, ask, when did warmth first scare me? Every reaction is a clue. Not to shame you, but to reveal this. Behind every flare of anger is an unheard sadness. And here's the unsettling part. The more you try to control others, the more your unhealed emotions control you. Unacknowledged emotions don't go away. They just take the driver's seat. You ignore the child inside, and that child starts screaming in silence. Not with words, but through reactions you can't explain. When you explode over something small, when you shut down in fear, it's not weakness, It's a part of you that never felt safe enough to grow up. You don't need to revisit the past to blame anyone. You just need to return, to be present with yourself. Try not to fix yourself right away. Just say, this is a reaction. I want to understand why. Because behind every intense emotion, behind every attempt to control, there's simply a child saying, I don't want to be abandoned again. And if you can sit quietly and hear them, you'll no longer need to shout at the world. Three, pain doesn't come from the world, but from how we interpret it. Imagine a simple scenario. You send a message, no reply. An hour passes, then 2, then 3. At that moment, 2 worlds exist. The outer world, completely silent, and your inner world, screaming. Are they ignoring me? Did I do something wrong? Are they drifting away? But do you see it? None of this came from the silence itself. It came from how you interpreted it. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, if you are distressed by anything external, it is not the thing itself that troubles you, but your judgment of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. It sounds simple, but living it requires something rare, a willingness to doubt your own story. Emotions are real, but the meaning you assign to them often comes from your past. The mind hates uncertainty, so when there's a gap, it fills it with the worst case scenario. Someone doesn't reply. You tell yourself, I must not matter. They seem distant. You think they're withdrawing. They forget to respond. You conclude, I'm being rejected again. But reality might be far simpler. They're tired. They're busy. They're dealing with something that has nothing to do with you. But the mind doesn't seek truth. It seeks control. And control comes through explanation. So, it makes one up. This is a survival instinct. If I can make sense of it, I'll feel safer. But ironically, the very stories you create to protect yourself are the ones that hurt you most. You convince yourself you're being rejected before anyone actually says goodbye. You brace for abandonment before anyone even lets go. This is what psychology calls emotional forecasting, predicting emotional pain to stay ahead of it. But here's the cost. You start living in a story, one where you're always not enough, always too much, always on the verge of being left. And that should make you pause. Are you reacting to what's really happening, or to the version of the story your mind just wrote? Imagine someone walks past you without saying hello. You could think, they must be upset with me, or they didn't see me, or even, they're having a rough day. Same moment, 3 different meanings, 3 different emotional realities. The pain didn't come from the moment, but from the meaning you gave it. This doesn't mean you should sugarcoat everything. It means start questioning the stories you silently tell yourself. Your first emotion isn't wrong, but it isn't the full truth either. And if you let it lead the way, you'll lash out, shrink back, spiral. You'll respond to your own fear rather than the actual situation. You can't avoid getting hurt, but you can stop turning pain into identity. They didn't text back. That doesn't mean you're unworthy. They stopped loving you. That doesn't mean you're not lovable. Next time your emotions rise up, don't react right away. Ask them, where did you come from? What are you trying to protect? Is what I'm thinking really true? You'll be surprised what silence can reveal, and you'll realize pain is real, but suffering begins when you hold too tightly to a false meaning. You don't have to change how you feel. You just need to look at how you interpret what you feel. That shift alone can be the beginning of freedom. Four, the world owes you nothing, and that's your freedom. There's a statement that feels harsh at first, but if you truly understand it, it could change your life. No one owes you anything. No one owes you kindness, even if you've always been kind. No one owes you a reply, even when you text with all your heart. No one owes you love, just because you loved deeply. And the world doesn't owe you a gentle life just because you've endured so much. It feels like a slap, but sometimes awakening begins with the words that hurt the most. Most of our deepest pain doesn't come from what happened, but from the quiet expectation that whispers, "I shouldn't have to go through this. I deserved better. I did everything right. They should have stayed." When you believe the world owes you something, every disappointment becomes a betrayal, not just by others, but by life itself. But the truth is, the world doesn't operate according to your emotional logic. It doesn't respond based on how good or right you were. It simply is. This doesn't mean you should tolerate mistreatment. It means stop expecting others to behave by your private rules. You have the right to feel, to grieve, to get angry. But no one is required to love you back because you loved well. No one is obligated to fix your pain, especially if you haven't faced it yourself. We grow up with hidden beliefs. If I'm good enough, I'll be loved. If I try hard enough, they'll stay. If I don't mess up, I won't be abandoned. But life teaches you. Someone can leave you simply because they don't love you anymore. Someone you helped can ignore you without guilt. Someone you trusted can hurt you because they're still hurting too. And you'll want to scream, "I didn't deserve this." No, you didn't. But no one owes you anything else either. So the real question becomes, if no one owes you love, attention, or understanding, how will you live? You have two choices. You can close your heart, become bitter, and shut down. Or you can become free. Because you've stopped bargaining for worth. You give, not to get. You're kind, without strings. You love, not to control, but because it's who you are. And in that quiet shift, you find a power that doesn't depend on anyone. The world owes me nothing, and yet I am still full. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Fully understood, this doesn't make you cold, it makes you clear. It doesn't make you withdrawn, it makes you unshakable. The greatest freedom isn't being loved right. It's not needing to be loved right to stay true to yourself. You stop throwing questions into the void, like, "Why did they do this to me?" And instead, you ask, "How will I treat myself after all this?" When you stop collecting emotional debts from the world, you stop being a debtor in your own life. You no longer live from longing, you live from choice. And that choice, moment by moment, becomes your quiet revolution. No one owes you a thing, and that is the most liberating truth. Because now you are free to give, to walk away, to stay whole, without waiting for anything in return. Five, you don't need control, you just need to stay. There's a truth we all know but rarely live. You can't control other people. You can't control who loves you, who understands you, who stays or leaves. And you certainly can't control whether the world treats you fairly. But knowing this isn't the same as accepting it. We all understand impermanence, but still try to hold, fix, define, manage. Like gripping sand. The tighter you hold, the quicker it slips through. Why do we cling to control? Not because we're greedy, but because we're scared. Scared of losing. Scared of being powerless. Scared of watching something fall apart while we can do nothing. That feeling, it's not just sadness. It's a kind of emptiness that makes you shrink. So we tense up, time our messages, act indifferent while burning inside, do everything possible to still feel in charge, and we call that strength. But here's the paradox. The more you try to control, the less you own yourself. When your state depends on how others behave, when your mood rises and falls with someone's silence or affection, you're no longer grounded, you're reactive. You become an effect, not a presence. There's a principle in Zen: let what comes, come, let what goes, go. Stay present with what stays. It sounds simple, but it takes courage to live this way. Because in a world that never stops shifting, staying still is the hardest thing you'll ever do. Imagine yourself as a mountain, not cold, not numb, but rooted. The skies above shift, wind, clouds, storms. You feel all of it, but you don't move with all of it. You don't need to control the sky to remain the mountain. Presence isn't passivity, it's acceptance without surrender. You don't run from the sadness, you sit with it. You don't resist the disappointment, you listen to what it's showing you. You don't fight the anxiety, you place your hand on your chest and whisper, I see you, I'm still here. Here's a confronting question. If you stopped trying to control, would you still exist? If you didn't text first, would they still think of you? If you didn't keep the conversation going, would the relationship survive? If you just stayed still, would anyone still see you? That's the deeper fear, not being left, but realizing that if you stop performing, no one chooses to stay. But eventually, you'll see, the ones who stay when you don't chase are the ones who truly see you. The connections that last without being managed are the real ones. Your value isn't in how well you hold things together. It's in your ability to stay grounded, even when they fall apart. So try this next time. When you feel the urge to manage, explain, or fix, do the opposite. Don't send that message. Don't try to read their tone. Don't do something to be sure. Just stay with your breath, with the fear, with your body trembling, but still standing. Because strength doesn't come from controlling the external. It comes from knowing you can do nothing at all and still not abandon yourself. You don't need control anymore. You just need to stay. Not as someone waiting to be saved, but as someone who whispers, I don't know what happens next, but I do know I won't walk away from myself. Six small acts to remind yourself you're still here. We talk a lot about healing, about awareness, about emotional control, about letting go of expectations. But here's the truth. No insight goes deep unless it's touched through action. No philosophy is truly yours until it's lived, not just understood. Inner strength is not built through advice. It's forged in those quiet moments when you choose to stay with yourself. You can read hundreds of books on self-awareness, but one decision not to text when you're triggered will teach you more than all of them. You can know psychology inside out, but sitting through a wave of anxiety without asking anyone to fix you is when you really meet yourself. And yes, you can say, I've moved on, but if at night you're still checking if they're online, still craving a message, still pulled by a delayed reply, then maybe you haven't stayed with yourself long enough. You don't need a grand transformation. You just need a few honest, grounded actions that anchor you to the present. Not to become okay, but to remind yourself that you still exist, that you're breathing, that your body still feels, that there's still a voice inside you, soft, but waiting to be heard. And if you're reading this now, maybe there's a quiet part of you longing to be seen, a part no longer trying to fix or hold together, but simply wants to be present. For that part, I invite you to try 2 small acts. No ritual, no performance, just truth. Exercise 1. Write a letter to the part of you that's in chaos. Not to fix it, but to name it. Use paper, not your phone. No edits, no polish. Just write. Write like you're talking to your anger, your fear, your scattered thoughts. I see you. I know you're just trying to protect me. I don't hate you. I'm not ashamed of you. But today, I'll take the wheel. I'm here now. You don't need to carry this alone. You'll notice something strange. Once your emotion is named, it softens, like a child who stops crying once someone finally sees them. Exercise 2. 5 minutes of breath without trying to be okay. Not meditating to calm down, not breathing to get rid of anxiety, just breathing to remind yourself that you're still here. Sit. Close your eyes. Place your hand on your chest. When emotion rises, don't fix it. Don't suppress it. Just whisper, I see you. I hear you. I'm not running anymore. Each breath becomes a rope that pulls you out of the storm. Each moment of presence is a silent declaration. I don't need to control everything to exist. I just need to be here, in this body, in this moment. These are small acts, but they are not shallow. They are your quiet rituals, the kind that no one sees, but that slowly rebuild the part of you that got scattered. And remember, you don't need to feel better right away. You don't need to get it together. The point isn't to heal in one breath. It's to pause inside the panic and whisper, I'm still here. I still choose me. That small return, repeated over time, builds a person the world cannot easily shake. The journey back to yourself doesn't begin with grand awakenings. It begins with a breath, a sentence, a small but sacred decision. I will not abandon myself, no matter what's happening outside me. Final declaration. I don't control, but I don't abandon myself. We've talked about pain, about control, about those shaky moments when everything falls out of place. But in the end, it all leads back to one timeless, quiet choice. Will I leave myself just because the world won't move the way I want it to? No one ever taught you how to stay with yourself. You were taught how to behave, not how to be real. How to achieve, not how to accept your softness. How to please others, not how to stay present with your own truth. So as adults, we fall into the trap. If I can't control them, I lose value. If I can't hold the relationship together, I must have failed. If they don't come back, I must not be worth staying for. But stop for a second and ask the opposite. If I can hold on to myself, who can truly leave me? Because being left and being abandoned are not the same. Someone can leave your life, but abandonment only happens when you also walk away from yourself. You might lose a relationship, lose someone you loved deeply, lose the safety of what used to feel familiar. But if you're still here, breathing, observing, standing gently with yourself, then you've lost nothing essential. You're not breaking, you're transitioning. And the most important thing during any transition is this: Don't walk out of your own frame. Don't abandon your truth. Don't betray your needs. Don't cross your own boundaries just to be chosen. You can fall. You can weep, but fall into your own arms, not at the feet of someone who cannot carry you. This declaration, it doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need to be shouted or posted. It's made quietly, every time you don't react, every time you don't beg, every time you choose to breathe, even while your mind is screaming to act. You might say, I can't stop overthinking. I can't stop the sadness. I can't act like I'm not wounded. Yes, you can't. But you can choose not to abandon yourself while wounded. You can stay with the version of you that isn't calm, perfect, or confident. And that is what inner strength looks like. Remember this not as a mantra, but as a quiet oath. I don't control the world, but I will not leave myself, no matter what happens. This isn't giving up. This is freedom. When you stop chasing validation, you start living in sovereignty. No silence can unnerve you. No coldness can fracture you. No rejection can remove your wholeness. You can let go of a person without letting go of your principles. You can grieve without abandoning your worth. You can ache, but still whisper to yourself, I'm here. I am still mine. That's a declaration, not flashy, not dramatic, but profound. It's made with every breath, every pause, every decision not to run. If there's only one thing you carry with you from this entire journey, let it be this. I don't need to control others. I just need to stay with myself, so I'm not swept away by this world. And if I collapse, fine. But let me collapse like a warrior, not in rage, not in weakness, but in truth. Collapse, still facing the mirror. Yes, the world will shake. People will leave. Emotions will overwhelm. But someone who refuses to leave themselves is someone who never truly falls. As long as you can breathe, you can whisper, I don't control, but I will never walk away from myself again.